I have become emotionally attached to a job I never imagined I would someday get involved with. I will tell you without exaggeration, during those visits, when I met survivors smiling, I felt like crying. My first test of facilitating and coordinating was when I woke up last New Year's Day and learned from the morning news about at least 1,000 dead bodies still left unburied in Tacloban. I could have easily shrugged it off as it is not part of my mandate for reconstruction. But deep in my heart and mind, I knew I had to do something, if only to give those unfortunate souls a decent burial. I dug into my paper bag of calling cards and immediately contacted Department of Public Works and Highways Secretary Rogelio Singson, Health Undersecretary Janet Garin, then National Bureau of Investigation Officer in Charge Luigi De Lemos, right after talking to the Tacloban City Administrator, Attorney Texon John Lim, to find out if it was true, and if so, how I could help. To cut the story short, the mass burial of some 1,200 bodies was facilitated with the help of the said offices and the private sector, particularly Philippine Airlines, who generously accommodated the shipment of DOH protective gears and other pieces of equipment needed for the mass burial in one of their early flights. It turned out that what was needed is a voice to call out on the action needed to be taken. I need not detail anymore the other instances when I responded to such a need for coordination. Unfortunately, it is the norm more than an exception in the aftermath of similar huge disasters such as Yolanda. I still remember what Pac Toro Mampusubroto said when we met him in December last year. He said his biggest challenge when he rebuilt Banda Aceh and the island of Nias in Indonesia after the December tsunami that killed over 120,000 people was coordination. Coming as it did from somebody who was coordinating from a position of near absolute authority, spelled out in a decree issued by his president to make sure that he succeeded in his gargantuan task. I keep on wondering how I will handle my own version of coordination while armed only with a presidential memorandum order. This compounds, if not exacerbate, the job of reconstruction. As we look into the extent of the damage which cut across hundreds of cities and municipalities and at least a dozen sectors, the amount of work needed to be done has slowly materialized. It is my personal belief that government is and should not be the only option to bring back Central Philippines to its feet. In fact, I keep telling myself, government should be the fallback. Since we decided to engage the private sector in the rehabilitation efforts, we came up with areas of intervention and development based on the extent of the damage incurred in those areas from Yolanda. We put up for adoption in a registry list the 171 cities and municipalities damaged by Yolanda after we cut them to 24 clusters or development areas. We then enabled some friends in the private sector who invited an appeal to big business conglomerates to partner with us in redeveloping damaged structures and rebuilding the lives of the typhoon survivors. We also asked them, should they choose to be sectoral sponsors to mitigate the losses incurred in the education, health, housing, and livelihood sectors. This is not to say that those who want to just part with their money out of the goodness of their hearts, but do not have the organization or time to commit to this humanitarian effort, are not welcome. So, we put up a Yolanda Haiyan Multi-Donor Fund where all monetary donations for Yolanda-related projects would be managed entirely by very credible and reputable top executives from big business groups. It was probably by subliminal design that we wrote to ABS-CBN, GMA7, PLDT Smart, Globe Telecom, and the durable and wise Washington CICIP, and invited them to compose the Board of Trustees of the Multi-Donor Fund. Not one of them refused our invitation. We will help facilitate the launching of the fund very soon after initial monies entrusted to our Manila Economic and Cultural Office, or MECO, based in Taiwan, by several Taiwan nationals and Filipino overseas workers there, shall have been deposited anytime today to dollar savings account number, please take note, 105-310-463-926. I repeat, dollar savings account number 105-310-463-926. Also known as the Yolanda Haiyan Multi-Donor Fund. Please wait. We likewise expect more donations to be deposited to Peso Savings Account number 005-310-633-988. I repeat, Peso Savings Account number 005-310-633-988. Both accounts were newly opened in Banco de Oro, Ayala Avenue branch. Other savings accounts will be opened soon in Metrobank, RCBC, PNB, and Banco Philippine Islands. We are in the process of setting up a map-based website to make sure that the funds that people donate will be transferred or will be transparent enough for anyone who cares to see. To date, we have received the commitment of at least 9 development sponsors to shepherd or take the lead in the reconstruction and rehabilitation of 16 out of the 24 area cuts. 10 sectoral sponsors likewise committed to support the needs in the education, health, housing, and livelihood sectors. On behalf of the survivors of Yolanda, I sincerely thank and commend the Lopez Group, Ayala Corporation, Aboitiz Foundation, PLDT Smart, SM Group, Metrobank, ICTSI, Jollibee Mang Inasal, Robinsons, and many others. Just yesterday, a French non-governmental organization, Secours Populaire Français, quietly walked into our office and volunteered to help in the recovery efforts. After a short briefing, they chose to rebuild part of Palawan that was damaged by Yolanda. In between, we have been getting generous amount of support from multilaterals, private firms, and other organizations from all corners of the world, from our neighbors in Asia to the Western world. The 24 clusters of the United Nations led by their UNDP country representative, Ms. Luisa Carvalho, the USAID with its mission director, Gloria Steele, have committed and are actually extending all-out support, including their affiliate agencies in the rehabilitation efforts. The ongoing debris cleanup operations in Tacloban City and elsewhere is in full blast, courtesy of a private firm, Civic Merchandising, the exclusive distributor of Volvo in the Philippines, who provided their excavators, and the UNDP, who is providing the fuel, as well as the deployment of at least 50 dump trucks. The International Organization of Migration, another UN agency, has provided our office with vital information regarding the bunkhouses as temporary shelters for the displaced victims. It is now the subject of an ongoing investigation by the PNP Criminal Investigation Group and the Intelligence Service, Armed Forces of the Philippines. A prestigious private consulting firm, McKinsey & Company, is currently providing us the necessary technical support with embedment of very competent and professional personnel. Hold your breath on a pro bono basis in the next 2 years of our rehabilitation efforts. The Japanese International Cooperation Agency has likewise expressed commitment and is providing technical expertise in rebuilding communities and other funding requirements for Yolanda-related projects. Early this week, I received an email from the good Swiss ambassador to the Philippines, the Honorable Ivo Cyber. He will accompany to my office next week the representatives of a non-government organization called Swiss Solidarity, which is linked to the Swiss Broadcasting Corporation. He said, the wave of compassion and solidarity that the Yolanda tragedy evoked in Switzerland resulted in the mobilization of around $42 million through private donations in their home country alone. This definitely does not end here. In the coming weeks, we expect the actual implementation of the minimum masks, which the development sponsors adhere to. By minimum masks, we mean building schools or gymnasiums or multi-purpose halls resilient enough to serve as emergency evacuation centers before a calamity strikes, and hospitals that can convert into command and communication centers in the aftermath to sustain the needs of our fellow men in areas hit by similar devastating calamities. We continue to talk with potential sponsors and donors, some coming from as near as Southeast Asia to as far away as Europe, in an effort to fill foreseen and unforeseen gaps in the rehabilitation work. We continue to work with government-line agencies who are in charge of actual implementation and the local government units where all the much-needed assistance converges. We continue to untangle the knots created by political squabbling and personal differences. I always say this like a broken record. While I adhere to a policy of inclusion, I will not hesitate to go after people, regardless of political affiliations, who will put their personal interest and greed above the mission and goals set forth by the President. Roughly translated in cinematic words, it's either you're in or in the way. And while the list of those who are in continues to grow, I am bent to deal with those who are getting in the way sooner or later. All of this we're doing silently for the longest time, purposely not wanting to attract attention, for we believe that whatever we feel we will accomplish will speak for itself when it is finished. For, in the end, it is the entire government and the Filipino people, not me, who chose to pick themselves up and conquer the odds. This forum is another clear manifestation of unity and solidarity involving people whose hearts continue to bleed and whose selflessness comes out naturally to give a big part of themselves to those who continue to suffer the aftermath of nature's wrath against the misdeeds and mindless abuses of people who don't seem to care about the future. Please allow me to end by congratulating the OML Center for gathering the experts in a forum that will offer long-lasting solutions to self-inflicted problems in our midst. Thank you and good day ahead.